Love it or hate it, the Chargers' downtown stadium plan is one step closer to making it onto the November ballot.
So you have to be aware of and outside what we call the door zone.
San Diego is considering adding a network of bike lanes in the city, while businesses are considering what they'll be losing.
It's going to be exciting. We're going to literally sell everything in this building to the highest bidder.
And a San Diego institution says everything must go. Details coming up, because KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Anderson. Chargers officials say they submitted more than enough signatures today to get their proposal for a downtown San Diego stadium on the November ballot. Nearly 111,000 signatures were delivered to the San Diego City Clerk's office. That's about 66,000 or so more than needed. The signatures still need to be verified. If the measure does qualify and if it's passed by voters, the plan would raise hundreds of millions of dollars for the project by increasing the hotel room tax. The team would chip in $350 million and use a $300 million loan from the NFL. Last night's earthquake centered in Borrego Springs, and it registered at a magnitude of 5.2. It occurred along the San Jacinto Fault, considered the western branch of the San Andreas Fault. San Diego State earthquake geologist Thomas Rockwell says pressure builds up on that fault over time.
It's accumulating strain at about 12 to 15 millimeters a year, which is something a little over a half an inch, but it's all released in big earthquakes. So every 200 to 250 years, it will produce an earthquake that will have something like 10 to 12 feet of offset. So all that slow accumulation of strain, it builds up, and then it snaps in a big earthquake. This was not a large earthquake.
Rockwell says the region is due for a large quake up to 7.5 magnitude. Now, there have been about 450 aftershocks since that early morning quake. Though last night's temblor mostly rattled nerves, emergency officials are warning residents to be prepared.
We can do things like having 3 days of food and 3 days of water, having a radio, a crank radio available so that you can tune in and find out the latest information about the disaster.
Officials say most injuries and deaths occur when people are crushed by toppling objects as they're fleeing either homes or other buildings. If there is an earthquake, they advise people to drop, cover, and hold on. Talks of a countywide sales tax increasing going on the November ballot continued today at the board meeting of the San Diego Association of Governments. For months, the board members have been haggling over how to spend the money from the proposed tax hike. Several environmental groups oppose the measure because it would fund certain highway expansions. They also say it wouldn't give enough money to public transit. Other transit advocates see some signs of progress.
I'm not sure that they're prioritizing transit over highways, but they are certainly contemplating bringing transit into earlier periods of their plans than they have been doing in the past. And that's different than the prior versions of this ballot measure. That's also different than the regional plan that they adopted in 2015.
The half-cent sales tax increase would need a yes from 2/3 of voters in San Diego County in order to pass. The achievement gap in San Diego Unified School District is closing. That's the message today from the school district. It says African American seniors are expected to graduate at a rate that nearly matches the district's 92% rate for all students. And the percentage of Latino students graduating is up at 88%.
We are on the path to ensure that African Americans, Latinos will achieve at the same rate as other students. Are we there? I would not dare to stand before you and say we are there, but we are on the path.
In April, the district defied expectations when it announced it was on track to hit a record for graduation rates among the state's largest districts. The class of 2016 was the first required to take all of the courses needed to get into a state university. Researchers had predicted the tougher requirements would put many students behind. Online reviews have become a fact of life for many businesses. UC San Diego Health is no different. The system was just about to start posting patient reviews right on its doctors' websites, but they've hit a bit of a snag. iNewsSource reporter Cheryl Clark explains.
You can think of this as a hospital's attempt to out-Yelp Yelp. UC San Diego Health was going to be one of just about 24 healthcare systems nationally that are brave enough to post their patients' comments about their doctor's bedside manner. For example, you might read that Dr. Jones made me wait an hour, or Dr. Jones saved my life. And these comments were going to be posted on the doctor's own UCSD profile pages. But recently, UCSD realized patients weren't told their comments might go public. And even though they'd be anonymous, they might write something that could identify them. So UCSD plans to resurvey its patients with appropriate disclosure language, and that could take 6 months or more. Now, allowing patient comments about their doctors is part of a growing national appreciation that the way patients experience their care might be almost as important to their health as a physician's diagnostic accuracy or treatment. It might even lead to a better patient experience in the doctor's office. I'm Cheryl Clark with iNewsSource.
As of Thursday, Californians with terminal illnesses can legally end their lives through physician-prescribed lethal medication. But Jonathan Underland reports those who oppose the law continue to push their belief that physician-assisted suicide is wrong.
Ayes 23, noes 14. The measure passes.
There were tears of joy after the state Senate passed the Aid in Dying law last September. Many terminally ill patients spent their remaining days fighting for the law.
That this law, with these people standing around me, has changed my life, and it has changed possibly my death.
Now, some religious and doctor groups have launched websites to fight the new law. Their concern is that assisted suicide will quickly become the cheapest and most frequently used way to treat terminal illness. A coalition of doctors has filed suit against the state of California in an attempt to overturn this new law. They claim it could allow doctors to encourage their most vulnerable patients, such as the mentally ill, to choose to end their lives. Religious groups like the Catholic Church has been a particularly loud voice against the law. Doctors at Catholic hospitals are not allowed to participate in assisted suicide.
We're committed to helping create an environment where nobody needs to ask for this.
But Elizabeth Wellner, a woman living with stage 4 colon cancer, says for the terminally ill, death should be a choice made by individuals in accordance with the law, and not by the church.
If indeed there is a God that the religions talk about, and that I'll have to face that maker when I die, I'll have to face my maker when I die.
Much of the law is still uncharted territory, and how it will impact California remains to be seen. But for terminally ill people like Elizabeth, the law eases the pain and fear that come with death.
If I do it this way, I get to, fall asleep holding my hand, my son's hand. Nothing but love and happiness and joy.
From the state capitol, Jonathan Underland reporting.
California lawmakers are pushing to pass a permanent ignition interlock program to help fight drunk driving. The law is SB 1046. It requires DUI drivers to attach a breathalyzer to their car's ignition, and drivers must complete statutory time on the interlock. Currently, judges can impose ignition interlocks on a case-by-case basis. There are 4 counties in the state with interlock pilot programs for all offenders.
What we're trying to do is separate drinking from driving. And right now in our 4 counties that we've had the pilot, they have to be on an interlock, and it's doing very well.
Statistics show that interlocks have prevented about 1.7 million drunk driving attempts in the United States. If the law is passed, the state would also receive about $1.5 million each year in federal grants. The San Diego City Council will consider a new plan that adds a network of bike lanes throughout downtown. It's part of a strategy to make it easier to walk and bike, but critics say it also eliminates parking spaces. KPBS reporter Claire Tregesser has a look.
I'm riding my bike in the middle of downtown San Diego. There's no bike lane and cars are getting pretty close. Then a bus pulls out next to me, making me a little nervous. Luckily, I have a guide.
things as a bicyclist to think about is a car door that it could open just like that one just did.
Andy Hanshaw is the director of the nonprofit San Diego County Bicycle Coalition.
So you have to be aware of and outside what we call the door zone. So there's a car door that just opened.
He's been advocating for the downtown mobility plan. The city council is expected to vote on it June 21st.
It's a forward-thinking network that's proposed to go in at one time, and where bike lanes don't even exist currently.
He says the key is that all of the lanes would be added at once.
So that you can actually plot and plan your trip, to be essentially in a bike lane the entire route.
Hanshaw took me on a bike tour of the downtown streets that would get bike lanes.
We are now on 6th.
Many of the bike lanes would be protected.
It has a physical separation between the bike lane and car traffic.
The plan would add protected bike lanes on Pacific Highway and State Street, 4th, 5th, and 6th Avenues, Park, J, and C Streets, and Broadway and Beach Street. It would also extend the bike lane on Harbor Drive and the bike path along the bay. On 6th Avenue, for example, Hanshaw says he sees too much room for cars.
You can see, though, 3 lanes on this street with 2 lanes, 2 sides of parking. That's too much. There's plenty of roadway for a bike lane.
I think our concern with a statement that shows if we build it, they will come. If we have bike lanes, then less people would use their vehicles. The unfortunate part about that particular statement is that there are not enough jobs in downtown San Diego.
Christopher Gomez is the district manager of the Little Italy Association.
The people that typically work in downtown don't live in downtown. They live in Chula Vista, they live in Kearny Mesa, etc. And those people that may live in downtown actually don't work downtown. They work in La Jolla, they work in other parts of San Diego.
Gomez says he isn't opposed to adding more bike lanes, but he worries about part of the plan that puts lanes on State and Beach Streets in Little Italy.
We would lose an additional 50 parking spaces on those 2 streets alone, which in a residential and a school and church corridor, those are the places that are in need of parking substantially more than anywhere else in the district.
Gomez says losing parking spaces could hurt businesses, but he's worried about the people who live in Little Italy even more. He says some buildings already only have 1 parking space per unit.
So you have, for example, a unit that has 2 bedrooms. Well, you have, someone that owns the unit, or a husband, wife, or a roommate. Well, where is that other person parking?
Hanshaw says in the first 5 years, the plan will actually increase the number of parking spaces. Over 20 years, it will cut more than 470 spaces across downtown. But he hopes fewer people will be driving by then.
And especially in a dense, growing, thriving, urban downtown environment, the mindset has to be about creating safer mobility choices for people to go to work, to go to restaurants, to go to the sports venues downtown.
He says it will take changing car-centric thinking to embrace the plan.
If we're just going to add parking somewhere else, we're really not accomplishing our original goals of the plan.
After we finish tracing the route of proposed lanes, Hanshaw and I stop our bikes. I'm happy to have safely ended our ride.
Yeah, are we good?
Yeah, we're good.
That's excellent.
Claire Tregesser, KPBS News.
Video journalist Katie Shulov helped produce that story. California Governor Jerry Brown and Democratic legislative leaders have a state budget deal. The spending plan includes an end to the controversial maximum family grant welfare rule that prevents families who have another child while on welfare from getting higher payments. And the budget included more money for affordable housing projects. The deal also includes an additional $2 billion deposit for the rainy day fund for the budget reserve. A vote on the package is expected next week. Temperatures will remain mild this weekend with a warming trend out in the desert areas of San Diego County. Steph Davis has more on tonight's KPBS weather report.
Happy Friday, everyone, and the weather remaining quiet as we roll towards the weekend. Now, it was fairly cloudy out there today, and that's what you can see on our satellite and radar, showing all this cloud cover building in here across Southern California, though remaining dry, and that's the way we will stay as we head into our Friday night. So Friday night plans, you should be good to go from Borrego Springs all the way towards the California coastline. No weather-related travel delays expected here, as we do expect to remain dry to kick off the weekend. Tonight in Borrego Springs will fall to an overnight low near 70 degrees, 51 with patchy clouds in Mount Laguna, back to the 50s in Ramona, 56 in Alpine, into the 60s in Oceanside, 64 with some clouds building into San Diego itself. Looking ahead to tomorrow as we officially kick off the weekend for our Saturday, another dry day and fairly seasonable and comfortable across much of California, so really not a whole lot to worry about weather-wise as we roll throughout the first half of the weekend. Here's a look at your 5-day outlook for the coast. Low clouds break for sun Saturday and Sunday as daytime highs climb into the low 70s, struggling to break out of the 60s on Monday, and then temperatures back into the low 70s for the coast Tuesday and into your Wednesday. Low clouds a break for clear skies Saturday and Sunday inland, remaining dry for your weekend, with your daytime highs at 71 degrees. Similar conditions Monday and Tuesday, and then clouds and sunshine on Wednesday. Daytime high 71 with overnight lows across the board falling back into the 60s. Mostly sunny skies Saturday in the mountains. Same deal on Sunday with your daytime highs in the mid-60s. Sunny and pleasant early next week. Back to work on Monday with your daytime high near 70 degrees. And then we'll see an increase in temperatures as we look towards the midweek. 74 and sunny on Tuesday, mostly sunny and beautiful in the mountains for the midweek Wednesday, with your daytime highs comfortably mild will climb to 76 degrees. Showing your 5-day outlook across the deserts, kicking off the weekend Saturday with bright and sunny skies, high 94. Similar weather pattern in place as we wrap up the weekend on Sunday. Plenty of sunshine early next week Monday, high 95 degrees, and then temperatures will climb to the upper 90s Tuesday, mostly sunny and 98 in the desert for the midweek on Wednesday. Steph Davis, KPBS News.
A NASA astronaut heading out on a deep space mission made a pit stop in San Diego today. Jessica Meir currently taking part in preparations for NASA's Journey to Mars program. She visited her alma mater, the Scripps Institution of Oceanography.
It's a really exciting time. Everything that we're doing up there, learning on the space station how radiation and microgravity affects the human body, all of these things will be absolutely pivotal and integral to us eventually getting to Mars. So that's a little bit further off right now. I'm a little bit more of a realist. So right now, I think about my first mission will be on the International Space Station, but I do hope that members of our class will be involved in testing the new spacecrafts and rockets that will get us eventually, if we go back to the moon or to Mars.
Meir is the second recent Scripps alumna to join the NASA Astronaut Corps. She was selected from a pool of 6,000 applicants back in 2013.
Hillary Clinton makes history. Donald Trump makes Republicans nervous. San Diego voters set up November showdowns in critical races. And the mayor's easy victory may come with a more difficult city council. Join us as we put a bow on the primary tonight at 8:30.
Bodhi Tree Concerts is a nonprofit organization that performs random acts of kindness through music and art. KPBS arts reporter Beth Accomando says the group is presenting Brenda Bar, a children's opera with a devastating history.
Hans Krasse's Brenda Bar looks like a charming children's opera.
Mightier than any czar, I, organ grinder, Brenda Bar.
But Bodhi Tree Concerts' Walter DeMel puts it in context.
It was an opera written in Czech that was being performed in a concentration camp. And the Germans never took the time or energy to translate it. And in its own childlike way, it was a very subversive piece.
And wonderfully so, exactly. It was exactly subversive, and the Nazis had no idea, and I love that.
Diana and Walter DeMel are the founders of Bodhi Tree Concerts. They're trying to pass on the backstory of Brenda Bar to young cast members like 12-year-old Benjamin Rodriguez.
The play is kind of anti-Hitler. It was originally performed in Czech, so the Germans didn't understand it and they didn't really translate it. So they propagandize an anti-Hitler thing. Kind of a small victory, but still.
I did tell Ben that story where the Nazis didn't translate the check, so they didn't know exactly what was going on, and they used that victory song at the end as one of their main themes of their propaganda film. So it's pretty special.
Max Schindler was at the Terezin concentration camp where the opera had been performed. He's glad to see that Brenda Bar is being presented to a new generation.
It's important. It reminds the world what happened during the war, and it brings this history alive again. And if we don't continue bringing this back, it'll be forgotten.
But of course, a lot of these children have no idea what this is really about, okay? So, and you cannot really tell too much to them because it's very scary. What these kids went through over there, very scary.
Rose Schindler and her husband Max take every opportunity to share their experiences with a younger generation.
When we came into Auschwitz, my family, we were 10 people. My mother and 4 sisters and brothers went straight in the gas chambers. Anybody that came through Birkenau, Auschwitz, that's where they ended up, in the gas chambers, unless you were old enough to go to work.
It's important for this next generation to hear these stories and remember and retell and never let it happen again. And we also wanted to honor the children that lost their lives doing this show, and almost all of them did.
One way to honor that memory is with the hearts worn by the performers.
The Nazis, as you know, they had the Jewish stars, but we don't want to have bad feelings, and like we're all friends here, so we've replaced the star with a heart, showing that it's all love, compassion, and togetherness.
Maestro, please.
Francesca D'Amico sings the role of Annette, the little sister.
Ducks and geese up high were flying.
For the show, there's going to be a Holocaust survivor. I think her name's Edie. And she's going to tell her story and how she survived and stuff.
Though the story in the opera could stand on its own, this is a story reflective of a chapter in the human experience that just needs to be remembered and retold. And Dr. Edith Eger shared that story with us.
Her story gives me chills when I think about it. She was a dancer, and she survived Holocaust by dancing for Dr. Mengele.
Art was key in providing hope to some of those in concentration camps, and Brenda Bar is a symbol of that.
We won a victory over life's tyranny.
I think it symbolizes that you don't have to submit to a higher dictator, that you can still be free.
Walter Dumel says the opera's still making a difference.
The difference is being made in the lives of these 35 and 40 students. They're living, breathing chapters in this story going forward, and they will be able to share their recollection of being part of Brenda Bar.
It's going to be tense, but it's going to pay off.
Beth Accomando, KPBS News.
Bodhi Tree Concerts will present Brenda Bar this Saturday. That's tomorrow at 7 p.m. It'll happen at the Irwin Jacobs Qualcomm Hall in Sorrento Valley. Now, the San Diego Central Public Library moved to a new building nearly 3 years ago, but many of the tables, chairs, bookshelves, and other items that were left behind at the old location are still there, and they're all up for bid at a public auction tomorrow. KPBS reporter Taryn Mento takes us on a tour of the goods.
I'm here with Bobby Beecham from AAA Public Auction. So tell me a little bit about what can San Diegans expect when they come here on Saturday morning?
It's going to be exciting. We're going to literally sell everything in this building to the highest bidder. There's something for everybody here, so you'll be able to walk through and find anything from an office desk, a chair, employee lockers, to some cool mid-century and Art Deco pieces for collectors.
Do you know how many items you actually have for sale?
Just a little over 500 lots. There should be several thousand items, though. Every type of electronic you could imagine, microfiches, little Teen Space neon sign. So we're going to sell these all to one person. Okay, the first 2 lots will be 3 chairs, and then this whole side will sell 1 row at a time, which is 7 chairs at a time.
Do you have any favorite items?
The 200-drawer card catalog is incredible. So we're going to open up at 9 a.m. for people to come in. The auction will start right at 11 o'clock.
And so is everything going to start out at $0, $1?
Generally, the auctioneer will throw out a number just to get things rolling, but yeah, there is no reserve, so you possibly could buy anything in this building for $1.
I'm Judy Woodruff. On the next News Hour, Mark Shields and David Brooks join me as the presidential race pivots toward the general election. That's Friday on the PBS News Hour.
San Diego teen is getting ready to try on his new status as a millionaire. Mickey Moniak was chosen first overall in the 2016 Major League Baseball draft by the Philadelphia Phillies last night. Moniak played high school ball at La Costa Canyon in Carlsbad. He's graduating from high school today and could be offered up to a $9 million signing bonus. The last #1 pick from San Diego was current Washington Nationals All-Star Steve Strasburg. He played for San Diego State. You can find tonight's stories on our website. That's kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks very much for joining us. Evening Edition will be back here on Monday. Have a great weekend.